So, as many of you may have noticed, recently Thomas Astruc has been going into a battle on Twitter with a lot of different fans. Now, this isn't exactly anything new. A 5-minute scroll through his Twitter feed will show that he's constantly getting into back and forths with fans. For a long time, I just ignored it. If he wants to fight with fans, he can go for it. It must be annoying to have a horde of people coming at you and telling you how you're a bad writer and that they can do better. Over the past couple days though, I've been thinking that maybe this sort of stuff just isn't harmless debate. It could actually be damaging to the show. So, let's set the scene. Over the weekend, there's been some vocal criticism from some fans on Twitter about Cat Noir. Specifically that they feel like his character's overlooked in the story, he has minimal development, and that advertising excludes him. In this instance, they were talking about his exclusion from 2 new posters for upcoming Miraculous specials. Now, I can see both sides to this. For fans of the character, I can understand that it's frustrating that Cat Noir constantly plays second fiddle and gets beat up by bad guys for Ladybug to save the day. I can understand that people are frustrated that one of their favourite characters is underutilised and not featured on advertising materials. But at the same time, I can see Astruc's perspective. 1, he isn't the head of advertising, so it's not like he says what goes on the poster. I'd assume that whoever designs the posters and ads works off trends and features more popular characters more heavily. And 2, it's his story to tell and he wants to be able to develop the characters in a way that makes sense to the story he's trying to tell. And this would be fine as it is, I just write it off as a difference of opinion. But a lot of his actual comments sort of rub me the wrong way and would turn me off if I was a new fan having a look at the creator of the series' Twitter profile. The first issue I have of Astruc's recent comments is the constant defense of, it's for kids. Now on the surface you might think, well, yeah, it is for kids, but I don't think that defense holds up under any sort of scrutiny. This defense has come out a number of times over the years whenever the quality of the writing is questioned by fans. Let's say someone tweets out, I think Cat Noir needs more development. He's been stagnant for 3 seasons. And the reply will invariably be, don't think so deep into it. It's a kids show. But to me, this doesn't make sense. It's not like we're watching Paw Patrol. I would equate the show's age bracket to something like Avatar: The Last Airbender. And hey, what do you know? The Last Airbender is renowned for its deep and rich plot lines and is a masterclass in character development, like in the case of Prince Zuko. So, when Astruc tries to use the defense of, it's a kids show, for poor character development and slow-moving storylines, it makes him seem a bit disingenuous and kind of lazy. Also, by saying things like, why do you care, it's for kids, he risks alienating a large portion of fans who might not fit into that age bracket, but still watch it nonetheless. For somebody's fandom to be invalidated by the creator of the show they enjoy can be hurtful, and it risks stunting the growth of the show by turning people away. Next up, we have, it's a show for girls. This was his response to the majority of the internet's criticisms for how Cat Noir's been handled over the show's run. So yeah, I can see where he's coming from with this. Anyone can see that the target audience for Miraculous is girls. That's a factual statement, and it's important for there to be prominent and strong female heroes like Ladybug who don't need to rely on men to get them out of danger. The main problem with this is when fans complain that Cat Noir has minimal development compared to Ladybug, Astruc replied that the show's made for girls, and then made some wild statements about the complaining fans disliking women and being sexist. Now this was a massive yikes moment for me. Bearing in mind, the majority of people he's interacting with about the show are probably girls. He acts as if having legitimate concerns about the depth of characters means that they're anti-Ladybug and therefore sexist. It's a cheap defense that shuts down any legitimate concerns and just deflects the issue to the broader topic of sexism. So here's my take on it. I think a lot of fans have legitimate concerns about the story arcs of many of the characters, particularly Marinette and Adrien. As it stands, Marinette very much toes the line of becoming a Mary Sue. Her character has no real stakes. Her flaws don't matter. Anytime one of her negative traits, such as her controlling desire to be with Adrien, or her obsession to make everyone see who Lila truly is, leads to something like an akumatization or problematic situation, it just gets resolved and brushed off by the end of the episode. It shows that her mistakes have no consequences, and this ultimately means her character doesn't really change. Yes, there's slight additions here and there, but she's pretty much presented as perfect, and her actions are almost always right. On top of all this, most of her key moments as a hero tend to come at the expense of somebody else, usually Cat Noir, a villain, or both. In the case of Cat Noir, there's 2 ways in which her character gets ahead at the expense of his. 1, he's always portrayed as a goofy comic relief character that can't get things done on his own. If this was his usual character, it would make sense, but it's not. In his normal life, Adrien is resourceful and intelligent. As Cat Noir, his IQ drops 50 points and he's rash and impulsive. Similarly, villains are always intelligent and cunning when they first fight the heroes, only to be dumbed down and get easily defeated in the end. If your main character is only intelligent and powerful because you put roadblocks in front of other characters, your main character is poorly written. Over the first 3 seasons, you could kind of hide that this was happening, but as season 3 progressed, it became more and more obvious that this was how the characters were developing. And I think this could be damaging for season 4 and beyond. The fact that Astruc deflects this and calls critics sexist means that nothing's going to change with that dynamic going forward, and Marin and Adrian are going to remain pretty 2D. And the final gripe that people had with Astruc's Twitter rampage was his blatant attacks on parts of the fandom, particularly fanfic writers. Now for me personally, I don't have a horse in this race as I neither write nor read fanfiction, but at the same time I can see how it's invalidating for the creator of the characters you love to tell you your work would not hold up in a professional context. But at the same time, I can see Astruc's perspective here. He's constantly being told by people that they could do better than him and use fanfiction to prove it, but fanfiction's not the same as a script for TV. A narrative lets you actually sit inside the head of a POV character and hear their thoughts and feelings. In a TV script, the majority of the time you have to see character development through actions or dialogue. Plus, he has to balance the input from other producers and make sure all stakeholders are satisfied with the product. But once again, I feel like he's missing the bigger picture here. It's not about whether the fanfiction's better. It's the fact that a number of fans are turning to reading fan works because they're not satisfied with the story being told and the way in which the characters are being presented. Ultimately, Miraculous is his show, and it's up to him as to the direction he wants to take the story and the characters. But I think what he says online can have a detrimental effect on the show going forward. For starters, his comments are divisive at best and really only serve to alienate sections of fans from him and make the trolling and anger even worse. It would be far better to just ignore it than just be a brick wall and fight every comment no matter how small. And secondly, it just proves that he doesn't want to listen to any sort of input from fans. Ultimately, as the writer of the show, that's his right, but it means that he thinks his ideas are the only ones with merit, that he is right no matter what. And based on a number of other shows that had writers like this, I don't think it bodes well for the future. But that's just my take on things. What do you guys think about what Astruc's been getting up to on Twitter? Let me know.